Start. Okay, I'm Annie,
And I'm Erin.
and we chose speech and language impairments. So to start, just giving an overview about our specific learning disability. According to IDEA, the speech and language impairments are defined as a disorder such as stuttering, impaired articulation, a language impairment, or voice impairment, which adversely affects a child's educational performance. There's a lot of different aspects of speech and language impairments, but the speech impairments include articulation, voice, and fluency disorders. And then the language disorders are more related to the child's ability to receive and express language. Speech and language impairments can be organic, which means that they have an identifiable physical cause, or they can be functional, which means they don't have an obvious physical bias. So when you're teaching your students some behaviors to look for to see whether they need specific interventions, for speech impairments, developmentally inappropriate articulation errors, slurred speech, or overly nasal speech. And then for language impairments, a child mispronounces words or sounds. A child omits word endings such as plural S in the past tense ED. And then a child has difficulty in reading and writing. So those are all things to look out for. And then some teaching strategies. These are just general strategies that you can do if you see students kind of falling behind in your classroom with speech and language impairments. For language, when they're speaking, paraphrase back their words to show them the correct way to say something and help them understand the meaning of those words. And then use language for social interaction to solve conflicts, present one concept at a time so they can be sure to keep up. And then incorporating vocabulary with the unit that's being taught at the time. And then incorporating students' interest into the speech. And then for speech impairments, modeling and having open communication in the classroom, using a peer buddy system, and using gestures that support understanding. And then being really patient with them is super important when you're a teacher and speech language impairments.
Okay, for the specific accommodation that we decided to share, we focused on a language impairment because those are more serious for the child's learning ability than a speech impairment. And we wanted to focus on third grade because we are early childhood educators, but we realize that not everybody in the class is. So we felt like that would be more generalizable to everybody in the class. So if you take the social studies unit on community development, that's in the third grade UEN core, if you take the specific vocabulary words that you need for that unit, such as geography, community, latitude, longitude, and natural resources, you can post them somewhere in the classroom with pictures to help the students remember what they mean, and or a definition depending on the age of your students. Then as you teach the unit, be sure to use those vocabulary words frequently and in context so the students get used to hearing them. And when they are responding and demonstrating their learning, make sure that they are using the vocabulary words as well, so they get practice saying them and feeling how they feel in their mouths. And we've got an example to show you here. Okay, so given this image, it's an image of the state of Utah, and it has latitude lines and longitude lines. Assuming that you wanted the children to be able to use the word latitude and know what it means in context, the teacher might ask, Ogden is closest to the 41st line of latitude, and Logan is closest to the 42nd line of latitude. Which line of latitude is Provo closest to? And you'll notice that I emphasized the word latitude and I used it repeatedly as the teacher. Then the students will respond, Provo is closest to the 40-degree line of latitude. So they're using that word. Another idea is that students could practice using the vocabulary by choosing a city and asking the teacher what line of latitude it is at. That might be appealing to students because they often like to trick a teacher, and they'll probably pick some random town that nobody's ever heard of. Now the teacher has to go research it. So it might engage the students in that way. Plus, they'll have to use the word latitude in order to ask their question. Finally, we thought the teacher could have the children highlight the lines of latitude and post it under the word latitude in the classroom to help them remember what that concept is. I think that's the end of our presentation. We thank you for listening, and we hope that this information has been helpful.